Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports, and today we're going to do an unboxing on a Campagnolo Super Record group set. This Super Record group set is going to go on a Ritchey Breakaway. So, slowly we've been accumulating the parts. Today is the July 1. And some ETAs have slipped. Some ETAs are okay. They've come in. So let's start with some of the bigger items first. All right. These are the ergo lever shifters. And see if I can take them out of the box and give you a few different looks of it. Now, some of you may think very fondly of the thumb shifter. So there it is in the mechanical form. And as I understand, the new 13-speed road brought them back. Who knows, maybe there was enough dissent amongst the troops that they said, well, we got to bring back the thumb shifter. So, all right. Next is the crank set. So, and I believe the smallest crank set that we could get in Super Record, was to get it in a 170. The gentleman wanted a 165, but it was not available in Super Record. Now, I mean, the trend is there. The trend is going towards shorter crank sets. This is July 1 of 2025, and the trend is there. So a lot of folks are going with much shorter crank sets. 165 is the most requested crank set today in my shop for all disciplines. I'm the retro grouch. I'm still in 172.5s. I don't see any benefit of it, but then again, I don't know. I ride just fine with a 172.5, but this is a 170 because that was the smallest Super Record crank set that we could get. All right, so that's crank set. That is the ergo levers. Here's the cassette. And look how, oh dear. I thought it was trapped in there, but I guess not. There it is. Very pretty. The only thing that fell was the cap. So let me get that. Or the lock ring, I should say. So luckily, it's made out of metal, so it's fine. But yeah, there it is. And it is really, really pretty, isn't it? So that's your Super Record 1132 cassette. Oh, and the chain rings were 5236. All right. The gentleman he lives local to me, and he said, I want what you're having. So, whatever gearing you're using, the area, and so just use that same gearing. All right. We were on a long wait for these two items, the two derailleurs. We had a long wait on these. So the rear derailleur and then the front derailleur. So we'll just spin that around slowly. Now, I know a lot of you watch other channels and they're always latest and greatest stuff. And, you may have watched another channel or multiple channels because the 13-speed EPS or whatever they're calling it now was released, and some of these channels probably have it. I'm too small of a channel. So this is why I'm always asking people to subscribe, because if you subscribe and I have a bigger channel, then I can approach some of these folks and say, hey, listen, how about sending a group set out so I can talk about it, ride it, whatever, and then send it back to you. This is the front derailleur. And it's one of those things, like, for example, the other items here, we are using Campagnolo for the shifters, the hard parts, the chain and the cassette and the crankset and stuff. But for the brake calipers, nothing but the best. We're going to go with EE brakes. This gentleman wanted a top of the line build, and that's what I do here. So not only is this the top of the line type of brake caliper, but it gives a lot more tire clearance than the Campagnolo brake would. I hear tell 28 max. Now this gentleman is in his 50s, just like myself. Actually, I'm getting close to my 60s in another, 2 months. This gentleman wants comfort, like most of the demographics of my store. They are 50 plus, 60 plus. They want comfort. They want 30, 32 tires. They want to be comfortable. So the Campagnolo Super Record brakes were not going to fit this gentleman's preference for increased tire volume. But the other comment I was going to make is that this EE brake company, housed under the Cane Creek brand, I want to do an interview with these folks, and I've sent multiple emails, and my channel's only got 8,000 subs. I need it to be a lot more subs. So please subscribe if you're enjoying the content, because then I can say, look, I got 15,000 subscribers, 20,000 subscribers. They would like to know more about your product. So there's that. We are going to do a Ritchey stem and a Ergon all-road seat post. Sorry if that's not in the shot. Now, again, the customer's looking for comfort, right? So we get him an all-road seat post that has a little bit of give. We get him some increased tire capacity, from 30 to 32 possibly, right? The Ritchey stem. Now I need to talk about one thing because this is important. Ritchey componentry, or Ritchey frames and componentry, I can only get from 2 of my vendors. Now I have vendor accounts with the largest bike distributors in the industry, right? So I have a very small footprint as far as my shop, one-man operation. However, I have access to all these direct accounts and distributor accounts that I can get basically anything, as long as it's not branded, Trek or, Specialized or any of those types of things, right? Independent things. But with Ritchey, and in particular the Superlogic level, some things are just not available at both vendors. So then there's only one vendor I can get the Superlogic stuff from. So, you keep culling this down. You start with, only, I can get whatever from multiple vendors, but when it comes to Ritchey, I can only get it from 2 vendors. And if it's Superlogic stuff, I can only get it from one vendor, like a handlebar. So this is where we're at. This handlebar has been out of stock for months. And why has it been out of stock? because they make everything in such small numbers that the last time these bars came into stock, I bought 4 of them because I had to build bikes. And I think I took all of their inventory. I know for the seat posts, I took all their inventory, the Superlogic seat posts. So this is the thing, right? It drops, 3 or 4 of them are available, and I take them because I got bikes to build. I'm not hoarding this stuff. It's going on to bikes right away. Let's talk about a couple of other little things here. Obviously, you need a chain and a bottom bracket, which I have somewhere. I know I have it. So here's your chain. And I'm so glad they got rid of that silly chain thing that they used to do, where it was like you were doing a factory rivet installation. I thought that was dumb. But, they got rid of that, and now we just got a regular quick disconnect, which is, Shimano forever did not use quick disconnects, and now when you install one of those quick disconnects, I mean, you are really, really reefing it to get that to close. So because we're building a breakaway, and for some reason, I mean, that got lost in translation, as the saying goes, I told them early on, we're building a breakaway. I need extra cables and housing. And if you're not aware about how this works, is you have a cable that comes from the shifter, goes to, like let's say towards the down tube, and then you need to make a junction there with a quick disconnect, and then you need another cable that goes from there to the derailleur, or from there to the brake caliper. And the reason you have that is because this quick disconnect, you will disconnect it when you are packing the breakaway into the suitcase-sized carrying case, travel case. So they had to ship the extra cables and housing in a separate... I mean, I get raked over the coals for shipping. I just don't understand why it's so difficult, because I was trying to combine everything so that I would pay less shipping and the customer would pay less shipping, right? All right. Then the customer wants to ride a regular tube tire, but with a TPU inner tube. He rides tubeless on his other bikes, but on his road bike, he wants to keep it simple. It also makes sense because he's going to travel with this bike. And so do you want your tire to break the seal, and then you'll have sealant all over your stuff when you arrive at your destination? What I do is I do ride tubeless on my breakaway. And so what I do is I put the wheels inside a wheel bag, and so at least I can contain the mess to inside the wheel bag. So now that we've covered all the positive things, and if I didn't say this before, I mean the Superlogic handlebar we're still waiting on. They said mid to end of July, so we're still waiting on that. But now let's talk about something that has become a little bit of a bane and a thorn in my side. I have been riding Ritchey wheels, 20 years, if not longer. And so I like the product. I love that it's still a family-run business. Steve Head, rest his soul, passed away, but Ann Head, Andrew Head is still there. They're still at the company. They're still working at the company, and it's still a family business. So, and because I ride Head wheels, especially these with the textured brake track, a lot of you folks that are on YouTube, and local folks like this gentleman, say, hey, I like those head wheels you talk about a lot. I want you to build my bike with that. Now, it's all fine when it's a Shimano group set or a SRAM. But it becomes a challenge when it's a Campagnolo group. And this is what they're telling me, because I don't know why. But Head lacks confidence in their Campagnolo wheel set, their hub and everything, free hub, for it to work with Campagnolo. They've told me the design of the hub is exactly to the spec, and they say some shops can't get it to work. And I'm like, what do you mean? It either works or it doesn't work. What do you mean some shops can't get it to work? So rather than to order a set of wheels and then be stuck, I said, okay, let me order a free hub body, and let's see if we can get the free hub body onto one of my wheel sets, build this gentleman's bike with the group, with the Super Record group, and see if we can get this to work. If it works, then we'll order a wheel set for him, brand new, with the Campy free hub body and all that stuff. And I believe at the last time we spoke, he wants the 46 millimeter deep wheels, the RC4 or R4C, one of those two, but it's 46 millimeters because he saw it on my Breakaway and he says that looks snazzy, and it does. You have this silver frame with the black, because it's a fairing, so it's not a carbon wheel. Some folks think it's a carbon wheel, but it's not. So that's where we're at right now. I thought it'd make more sense for me to order this and spend X amount of dollars than X plus for buying a whole wheel set. So we'll see if that works. And if that works, if this works, then we will then buy him a wheel set. So yeah, that's where we're at. So we're going to build this bike with this group set. I would like to do some in-process videos, but I'm a one-man operation. I just don't have the time to set up the camera, move it here, move it there, move it there. And then meanwhile, I'm not building a bike. And I've got other things I need to do that actually make money, right? So like repairs. I got 3 or 4 bikes in here for repairs right now, which is good. Good. I'm not complaining. It's a good problem to have. And I've also got another Ritchey non-breakaway, just a road logic that I'm building as well. And you might have seen a video where Nick and I did all the unboxing of his components, because he flew in from New York and he was about an hour away, and he says, hey, it looks like your shop is pretty close. And I said, yes, come on down. And so he came down. We spent a few hours together. We went out for a quick test ride on a few saddles and stuff. So all good in the hood. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.